Thank you so much. Let's all be seated in the presence of God. I think if I were to be asked, I think you would have just continued with that. I think you need it. You need Pastor Janet, Pastor Mutuko. And I don't know whether you had the time to throw a question to Baba Munio here. Because you need it. You need it. More than anything else, you need it. The kind of marriage seminars that that are held in many places, and I'm sorry to say this, they are bogus. Very bogus. There is nothing practical. Everything is just psychology. Nothing wrong with the psychology as such, if it is put in the right place. But when you come to a place like this, and they throw out some questions like the one I met, that was a good one. That was a good one. And Pastor Mutuku answers it very, very nicely. I like that. I like that. I like the wisdom. And it helps to demystify some of the kind of ideas, like he said, baggages that people carried, have been carrying since the time of Noah, And we need to throw them away. Are we together? Are we together? The last time I was here, I remember to have talked just a little bit on the issue of time, as far as marriage is concerned. I don't know how much time you have given to one another. Especially now, I'm now looking at the man Soros who are here with us. And I don't know how much time you went and allocated to one another because of the issue of time. Today I want to talk about something that I believe is extremely important as far as your marriage is concerned. Besides the issue of time, because time is what defines how much value you have for one another. I'll say that again. Time. The time you allocate for one another defines the value you have for one another. Time you allocate to your wife, to your husband, the time you allocate to the children. And by the way, when they are young, because these days they fly away very, very quickly from the houses, and the nest is left empty, The time you allocate to them when they are young defines how much value you attach to them. And please listen, I know we are living at a time when the man, the woman has to hustle. We have to hustle. You have to go very early in the morning to work and you come late. I understand. But I'm going to say again, no matter how busy you are, the time you allocate, I'm saying quality time, when you are just the two of you, not just in the bedroom. Are we together? The two of you defines the value you have for one another. Time for your wife, time for your children. Is anybody in this house? That one is just to remind you. The time you allocate to one another, for one another, whereby you say, today we are out, just the two of us. That time defines the value you have for one another. And I'm not just saying the time you say, we are going to Heaven's Gate, we will go and pray there, and we will go and fast there. That's a different ballgame. I'm saying just what I call me time. Are we together? Me time. That time you give her. That time he gives you. That time you give to the children. If you talk to my children when they were very young, they had a lot of daddy. Daddy was there because, I would go out with them. I have traveled to many countries with them. I remember even those times some people were saying I'm wasting money. They did not know what I was doing. That quality time that I gave them value that is continuing up to today. And it gave them stability. The word is stability. The word is stability. The time you give to your children translates to stability in life. I'll say that again. It's not just a value. They become stable. Many years later, that's when this thing starts to come out. When they are young, it doesn't. But many years later, when they are grown up and they are starting to have families, now you can see that stability. But it is because of the quality time you gave them, that time that put in them this one thing: we are valuable. I am valuable. I'm valuable. So this boy, this girl, will carry himself in life as somebody valuable. That's what we are talking about when we talk about stability. And let me tell you, nothing can substitute that. I beseech you, especially you young couples, nothing can substitute for that. Even if you buy them an airplane, even if you build them skyscrapers, it does not matter. Nothing can substitute for that time you give them that makes them feel valuable. And they carry themselves in life as people of value. That is what will, even if you have a lot of wealth, much later they will be able to take care of it. They will be able to take care of the inheritance. Because they know, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a girl of value. It's very, very important, especially for you young couples. Very important. And by the way, that's why I coined that phrase you hear me have, floating. And just go with them. And that began even before I had a car, by the way. So it's not just an issue of having a car. It began way long before we had a car and we would just go out. Just go out. It's very, very, it's more important than the wealth you can leave them with. Because you can leave them with a lot of wealth, you can leave them with a ministry, you can leave them, with the businesses, you can leave them, with the big jobs, but they will not stay because they are not stable. They don't consider themselves as men and women of value. It is very, very important, especially for you young couples. Now, that aside, I want to talk to you about something else that is extremely important for you as a husband and as a wife, especially you husbands. It's something that many times it's not understood, or may I say it is taken for granted. And that is the place of covering. Tell your neighbor, covering. Covering, that word cover, if we are going to go to like the Hebrew language, number one is the word protect. Number two is the word take responsibility. That's what it means. It means protect, and it means to take responsibility. It's very important. Very, very important. And I want you to see this. The reason why we are in trouble today, the kind of trouble that began in the Garden of Eden, is because of just this. What I'm going to talk to you about right now. Covering. Tell your neighbor, covering. If you are close to your husband, tell him, covering. Tell your neighbor, covering. I'll amaze you. Nothing has shaken my thinking more than what I found in Genesis chapter 3. Two things there. Number one, the enemy attacking the integrity of God. And that's what he has been doing even up to today. That's for another day. Up to today, Satan has one agenda: to attack the integrity of God. Everything he is doing is to attack the integrity of God. Is to tell you, God, hata kama umeokoka, but God does not really care for you like you think. God is not concerned with your life like you think. God does not really think the best for you like you think. Challenge on the integrity of God. That's for another day. But the next thing you will find here is the negligence that came in, and Adam failed to cover his wife. And you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed when you read that the family of Nabal would have collapsed. Of course, he died later. But the woman came in and tried to cover, to take responsibility for the evil or for the sin of Nabal. Covering. Covering. The Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. Is that right? Is that right? I mean, well, you are married because you love one another. Yes or no? Hello? Hello? So, the issue of covering is extremely, extremely important. Very, very important. Well, get hold of your mic as usual and go to Genesis chapter 3. And I want us to look at verse 1. We will go all the way to verse 7. You read verse 7.
Genesis chapter number 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say, 'You must not eat from any tree in the garden'?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, 'You must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. You will not surely die, the serpent said to the woman. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food, and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig trees together and made coverings for themselves.
I want you to see something very important here. And let me begin by saying this. We are talking about quality marriage. Number one, the issue of time. Number two, covering. Quality marriage. We don't want you to be in a contract in the name of marriage, or what we call come we stay in the name of marriage, or convenience, married by convenience. That's not marriage. We want you to have quality covenantal marriage. How do you get into that? Number one, I already told you about time. Number two, today I'll talk about covering. The Bible comes and shows us that God came and told Adam and Eve of all the trees in this garden, feast on them. Feast on the fruit from there. But there is a tree there, don't touch it. The day you touch it, you get into trouble. What I want you to see is this. When we talk about covering, we will look at it from two sides. Number one, you can only protect that which you are close to. Closeness. The devil timed when Adam was away from Eve. Closeness. Closeness in two ways. Number one, it can be defined by distance, but more importantly, it is by the heart. The heart. The heart. My question is, how close are you to one another now that you are married? We are having a lot of people, they were very close when they were dating, and after the honeymoon, the distance is increasing. The distance between them is on the increase. They live together. They live in the same house. They have children. But the issue of cultivating, investing in being close to one another is a challenge. Is a challenge. I want to remind you of Ananias and Sapphira. The problem was they were not close to one another. Closeness. The word is closeness. And I'm going to throw this as a challenge to you. Can you, from now, more than you think about money, more than you think about the house you will build, more than you think about the next degree you are going to have, or the next church you will plant, the many souls that you are going to win to the Lord, Can you right now get this challenge? That if you are going to have quality marriage that will affect nations, a quality marriage that will affect your children, that word closeness is extremely vital. Because we even have families, the children are coming in between and they are dividing the husband from the wife. Yes or no? Do you know why? Kanajua ile katakwambia kaende kaperekee mom will have a different opinion from daddy. Na kana take advantage. And that advantage becomes a wedge. Munaanza kuangaliana and you start asking, what happened in this house? Closeness. The word is closeness. Adam, I want you to see, the devil timed when Adam is physically away from the wife. The enemy took advantage of Ananias and Sapphira when they were distant apart. Let's begin there. That's the first level of closeness. But the second one is what I want to talk about also, is closeness of the heart. Do you know the Bible says that Jesus said, I and my Father, we are one. That's the one I'm talking about. Oneness of mind, oneness of heart. I'll say that again. How many families are dying today? Because, especially when it comes to finances, people are not of one mind. The husband maybe or the wife has a secret account. Yes or no? Yes or no? And the enemy takes advantage. The enemy takes advantage. Now, Malim, can you go to Numbers chapter 30? We read verse 6 and verse 8. I'll shock you today. Listen to this. Listen, I'll shock you the way I was shocked. Adam had the opportunity to reverse the mistake of Eve. I'll say that again. Adam had the opportunity to reverse everything bad that Eve did with Satan there. It's in the Bible. What am I talking about? If we are ready to cover one another, there is no evil that cannot be reversed in our families. I'm going to say that again. If we are ready to cover one another, and especially you, man, listen, there is no evil that cannot be reversed. Hakuna hata kumefanyika nini. What amazed me is that Adam had an opportunity to reverse what Eve did there. And God would have honored it. It's in the Bible. Read verse 6 to 8. Numbers chapter 30. Numbers chapter 30.
Numbers chapter 30, verse 6 to 8.
Yes.
If she marries after she makes a vow, or after her lips utter a rash promise by which she binds herself, and her husband hears about it, but says nothing to her, when her vows or the pledges by which she bound herself will stand. But if her husband forbids her, when he hears about it, he nullifies the vow that binds her on the rash promise by which she binds herself, and the Lord will release her.
Look at me carefully. Let me explain in simple terms. The Bible says if a wife has made a promise, has vowed, and this promise is not going to add value to the family, it's not going to add value to the life of the man, the life of the children, her own life, and the man hears about it and does nothing, that vow, that promise, that act that she did stands. But if the man takes responsibility and says, if there is something you did there with Satan, and I nullify that, I'm going to stand in the gap as your husband, and I'm going to say I don't agree with it, and may God cover it up. The Bible says Adam would have released the wife. Eve angepona. That's what shocked me. Eve angepo. Na mimi ningepo. Na wewe ungepo. This taught me something about the covering, whereby when something happens in my family, good or bad, I want to take responsibility. Si kusema hiyo ni mambo ya ni mambo ya watu, ni mambo sijui aliyokota kwa inilo, sijui aliyokota kazini. I must take responsibility. What am I talking about? You cannot afford to be casual with marriage. You can't. There is no place like being casual in marriage. It's a serious institution. Can you imagine? Eve angepona. That what we are witnessing today, what we are having today, would not have been there. God says, if Adam took responsibility, because, yes, Eve was deceived, but man failed to take responsibility. I'll say that again. Eve was deceived, but man was not deceived. Man failed to take responsibility. He failed in covering for the woman. Those of you who have been working in institutions, you know that sometimes you are going somewhere, you take your colleague and you tell her, please cover for me today. Does that happen? Does that happen? That's what I'm talking about. Eve was deceived, but man failed to take responsibility. One of the biggest tragedies today, and I'm going to say this very kindly, is we are living in a society where man does not want to take responsibility. I'm going to say that very kindly. And because you are here, the mamas, the women who are here, help your husbands to be men and women of to be men of responsibility. And I will show you how you do that. Men who are here, we need to take responsibility. We need to know how to cover for our children. We need to know how to cover for the wife. We need to know how to make sure that bad influence does not come into our family from outside there. Take responsibility. Protect your wife. Protect your husband. Protect your children. Si kila mtu anakuja anasema anything. And that anything goes. The Bible says if the husband if Adam would have said no, that influence is not coming here. What amazes me is that Eve angepona. Hata kama alikuwa amekula hiyo tunda. Lakini angepona. Because somebody came and took responsibility. Kwani tuliokoka namna gani? Somebody came and took responsibility. Somebody came and covered us. He covered for us. Yes or no? That's how we are saved. And let me tell you, the world we are living in is not kind. That's why you need to make sure that your family is not exposed. It's not kind. You got to know how to make sure that your own family is not exposed. Otherwise, all kinds of influence, not just from the in-laws, from brethren in the church. Kwanza hao ndio wabaya. Is anybody hearing me? You got to know how to make sure that bad influence does not come in. So that you live as a family. And you live as part of a larger family. But it is not free for all. It's not Satan to come anytime he wants to come into the house and you are just there. It can't work. It cannot work, my friend. It can't. Well, somebody has to be sure that you and me protect our family. Go with me to 1 Samuel, Molly. My God. Now listen to this. As we go to 1 Samuel, I want you to listen to this. Men who are here, let me speak to you a little bit. The greatest thing that girl next to you or that girl in your house needs, more than your money, more than your education, more than your lands, more than your buildings, more than anything else, is called security. That's all she needs. And that security will come depending on how you cover for her. The word is security. We men, let me tell you what we love. We love honor more than anything else. But the girls, security. She needs to feel she is the queen of the mountain and nobody else around. Even when she is 95. In fact, when she is 95, that's when she needs more security. Is anybody here? Are we talking? Are we talking? This is what Eve missed in the garden. She was not secure. Her security was nowhere to be found. When she was in trouble, and when she had not even fallen into trouble, what she missed was the security. That's why you need to know how to cover one another. Come on, if you are close to your wife, if you are close to your husband, ebu muulize, lakini mnaongeaje na watu huko nje juu yetu? Mnaongeaje juu huko? Some of us are exposing our families too much. Tunaongea sana. Are we together? Tunaongea sana. Unajua baba mzee wangu jana amekuja. Amekuja tu, amekuja hata unamwangalia hivi na unashindwa ametoka wapi. Na unamwambia nani? Wewe. 1 Samuel 25.
1 Samuel chapter number 25. Now Samuel died, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him. And they buried him at his home in Ramah. Then David moved down in the desert of Moab. A certain man in Moab who had property there at Carmel was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 1,000 sheep, which he was sharing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and a beautiful woman, but her husband, a Calebite, who sorry and mean in his dealings. While David was in the desert, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. So he sent 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Nabal and Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, 'Long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours. Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, we did not ill-treat them. And the whole time we were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. Therefore be favorable towards my young men. Since we come at a festive time, please give your servants and your son David whatever you can find for them.' When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, 'Who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants who are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to the men coming from who knows where?' David's men turned round and went back. And when they arrived, they reported every word. David said to these men, 'Put on your swords.' So they put on their swords, and David put on his. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. One of the servants told Nabal's wife Abigail, 'David sent messengers from the desert to give our master his greetings, but he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They did not ill-treat us, and the whole time we were out in the desert, in the fields near them, nothing was missing. Night and day they were a war around all the time we were heading our sheep near them. Now think it over and see what you can do, because his disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him.' Abigail lost no time. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on the donkeys. When she told her servants, 'Go on ahead, I will follow you,' but she did not tell her husband Nabal. as she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine. There were David and his men descending towards her, and she met them. David had just said, "It's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the desert, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David, but it be so severely, if morning I leave alive one man of all who belong to him." When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "My Lord, let the blame be on me alone. Please let your servant speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. May my Lord pay no attention to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name is full, and folly goes with him. But as for me, your servant, I did not see the man my master sent. Since the Lord has kept you, my master, from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, as surely as the Lord lives, and surely as you live, may your enemies and all who intend to harm my master be like Nabal. And let this gift which your servant has brought to my master be given to the men who follow you. Please forgive your servant offense, for the Lord will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my master, because he fights the Lord's battles. Let no wrongdoing be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my master will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies he will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. When the Lord has done for my master every good thing he has promised concerning him, and has appointed him leader over Israel, my master will not have on his concerns the staggering burden of needless bloodshed, or of having avenged himself. And when the Lord has brought my master success, remember your servant.
Look at me carefully. Now here the man has messed. The man is on the wrong. But what a nice picture of what it means for a wife to cover for the husband. The man is on the wrong. But before the woman goes to address the man and tell him, shindwe, si tutawawa hapa. She first of all, the Bible tells me, takes hold of some foodstuffs, runs to David and tells David, forgive us. Forgive. Forgive. Let it not be that you are going to mess up a whole family and you mess up your life tomorrow because of a mistake my husband has done. The wife is covering for the husband. Listen to this. Why do people not feel comfortable with one another when they go places? Listen to this. Let me help you. Let me help you. And this one, people like Baba Muniu and the others who have been on this journey for a long time, they can tell you. The reason why the man will want to go with his wife, the reason why the wife will want to go with the husband, she has no problem, they are always together, they are very close together, is because of this one thing. I know she will cover for me. She knows I'll cover for her. I'll say that again. Usione watu hawatembei pamoja unauliza ni kwa nini. It's because of this thing about exposure. Yani unafanya ka mistake kidogo, the whole week it is repeated. Tunaenda na wewe, let's go to a function, and right there it looks like you are not very well dressed. That's what will be addressed the whole month. The minute we know we can cover for one another, we will be real to one another, and it will be very close to one another. Very close. I will not be afraid that you are going to enjoy my weakness or enjoy my mistakes and make fun of me. And I want you to see this woman. She is going to tell David, forgive us. He did bad, but forgive us. I want to take responsibility. And I want you to save my household. And I want you to save, just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. She is covering for the man. Instead of exposing him, she is covering for the man, and then they can be able to go and sit down together, the two of them. Can I help you? When we know how to cover for one another, we give one another a second chance. We give one another a second chance. Exposure is killing marriages. Because we are even seeing places whereby now it is, I'm better than you in 1, 2, 3, 4. After all, you are horrible in 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it destroys everything. It destroys everything. When we know how to cover for one another, listen to this. We cannot fight or we cannot quarrel over what you are bringing to the house at the end of the month. I will help you to bring something bigger. But we are not going to make it a subject of quarrel. I'll say that again. I'll not make it a subject of quarrel. We will do everything together so that you can bring something more into the house. But this will not become our item for quarrel or disagreement. But many marriages are breaking right there. Maana unaambiwa wewe hakuna kitu unaleta kwa nyumba. Now, yes, hakuna, but what steps are being taken so that, the situation can be rectified? Yeah, what situation can be done? And this is so important because we are not ready to cover for one another. Now listen to this. There is no way we are going to cover for one another unless we are ready to sacrifice for one another. Sacrifice for one another. Please write this statement. Go meditate on it. Marriage is as good as the sacrifices we are ready to make for one another. Go think about that. I'll say that again. Marriage is as good as the sacrifices we are ready to make for one another. Go think about that. Go sit down together and think about it. And listen to this. The best source of true covering is prayer together. Praying together. If you really want to have a strong covering for one another, practice praying together. I'll say that again. Just get time to pray together. I know you pray, I know you fast alone, that's okay. But get time to pray together. Number 2. The best way to enhance that cover, the best, please listen to this, is good counsel. Good counsel. That's why Brother Moniki is saying, if there is an intimate issue that you have, something that is not really functioning in your marriage, and you feel you need more help, there are people that are ready to do that in confidentiality, in confidence, whereby it's just the 2 of you, the 4 of you or the 3 of you, and it does not go beyond that. And with that, let me say this. This fellowship, listen to this, I'm talking to the leaders, I'm talking to everybody here. This fellowship, unaona hii, it will grow according to the confidentiality that will be here. Ile mtu akiuliza swali hapa, wacha kupelekea watu nje. Did you hear what I'm saying? They were not here. Is anybody hearing me? Because now he will ask a question, halafu unaenda unapeleka huko nje. Please cover one another. Is anybody hearing me? Unaipeleka huko nje na mtu ambaye hakuja hapa will spin it. Ukiona anauliza hivyo kwake kuna haribi, cover one another. This fellowship, unaona hii? This is a well by itself. This one can heal a lot of marriages. But the minute we fail in covering for one another, ile tumeongea hapa ni ya hapa. Wacha kuenda kusema, lakini unajua fulani aliuliza hivi na hivi. In fact, I'm very happy that the questions were being read. But even if they are not read, if Pastor Mutuko makes a comment, is anybody hearing me? The other one makes a comment, Pastor Janet says here and there are things you don't need to take there. They are yours personal. We don't want people to go and spin. Is anybody hearing me? Who was not here? Is anybody hearing me? And what we want is to make sure that you who come, there is a closeness you are going to cultivate with your wife, such that you are inseparable. Tunaelewana? Na unaacha kuacha bibi ama bibi anaacha kukuacha. Because it goes either way. Either the mama does not want to go with the husband, or the husband does not want to go with the wife. Please. We want you to be this close. Many of you know I have a saying, kila mtu karibu na mtu wa. I don't just say for the sake of saying. I know if things are working in your family, they will work here. They will work in this church. Unanielewa? Kama muko close. But even if things are working here and they are not working right where you are in your family with your children, we don't go far. We do not go far. Know how to cover one another. Even here as a fellowship. Besides you knowing how to cover for your husband, for your wife, for your children, so that this closeness can be there. Hello? Even when you fight, when you quarrel, not everybody should know about it. I'll say that again. Wacha kumwambia kila mtu pahala don't go and, spilling all your blood everywhere. I mean, you had a small quarrel yesterday or last night or last week, and everybody in the church knows about it. Everybody in your workplace, everybody in the market. Now wewe hujui ile nimefanywa. Hata ukiona nakaa namna hii. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Can you cover for, don't expose the nakedness of your family. That's why you need to have someone. Unaweza kumwendea and you cry, you raise dust, unatoa nguo, ukimwambia ile umefanywa, maana unajua huyu hatapeleka anywhere. Is anybody here? But not in the market. Wakati mnauza or in your place of work and you are very moody, mtu anakuuliza, what is happening? What is happening? Unamwambia kuna kimutu kilinioa hapa. Kuna kimutu kwa nyumba yangu. Kimu? Yeah, I mean, please, don't expose your problems to everybody. I am telling you today, Adam would have saved Eve. I'm telling you now, Abigail, and by the way, Abigail ended up becoming one of the wives of David. And that's where we get Solomon. Listen to this. She covered for Nabal. Sasa, we are living in a generation ambaye haijui to cover for their children, to cover for their husbands, to cover for their wives. Yaani kila mtu lazima ajue ile kitu kidogo ulifanywa. And you carry the mood. You want people, it's like you want sympathy. Listen, some sympathies you get are demonic. Can I help you? They are demonic. I don't appreciate all kinds of sympathy. There are sympathies I appreciate. There are others, ninajua kutoka hapa, Choro FM is better. Hiyo staki. Hiyo mi staki. Nikuambie star? Yeah. Whereby you go to the place of work and then you are moody, or unakuja kanisani, unakaa namna hii, you are just alone, and somebody comes and asks you, what's wrong? Can we help? Namwambia ndugu, sijui kama nituombe, kuna kimwanamke kiko kwangu. Sijui kama ni kuomba, sijui kama ni kufukuza. Excuse me. That exposure kills closeness. I'll say that again. Iyo exposure, iyo kuropoka, unaropoka, what it is doing, it is killing closeness. Ndio maana kutaitanwa seminar, mzee hata hataki kwenda. Kutaitanwa ingine, mama anangojea asikie kama unaenda. Akisikia unaenda, na yeye anajipatia mihango. Hiyo ingine, na yeye mzee anasikiza. Akisikia mama anaenda, anasema na nimepigiwa simu, ninaenda kazini. Because that closeness is not there. That closeness is not there. Because we don't know how to cover for one another. And I told you that one, cover, protect, and take responsibility. This woman took responsibility. What amazes me is that Adam did not take responsibility. But Abigail took responsibility. She covered. Funika. I know somebody is asking now here, nitafunika mpaka lini? Utafunika mpaka Yesu alete jibu. Si ni wewe umeuliza tu? Ufunike mpaka Yesu alete jibu. Na jibu haitakuja because of going and talking to everybody. No. Jibu itakuja through your prayer and good counsel. Tunaelewana? Jibu itakuja through what? Real prayer and... Lakini si kuenda ukimwambia kila mtu everywhere. It will never come. It will never come. It will never come. And some of you are say very kindly. Hiyo ma-advice munaokota huko kwa in-laws. And in your places of work. Na huko marketplace. Are you hearing me? Hello? Wacha wao wajenge nyumba yao vile wanajenga. Lakini yako inajengwa na maombi and a good counsel. Tafadhali. Ndio maana nakwambia you will cover until Yesu alete nini? Alete jibu. Hapana kusema nimecover ni hii kimutu nimefunika huyu nimechoka sasa. Good. Wakati umechoka unafunika tena. Si umechoka? Bas funika. Funika na kuchoka. Until Jesus brings an answer. Are we together? Or, listen to this, you get good counsel and get a solution out of it. Listen. There are so many things that are for your spouse more than vitu vingine kidogo. I'm telling you. I am telling you. I wish I have time. We do what we would call a marriage clinic. I wish, how many people came with their spouses here? Raise up your hand. Come on, stand up if you have your spouse. Mansoro we kaa chini. This is very good. This is very, 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 very good. Very good. Listen to this. Let me do you one thing. Only one. One like this. Hapana mambo mingi ili uone what I'm talking about. On a practical level. Are we together? On a very practical level. I want you to take your wife. I want you to take your husband. Munakaa pale. Goja tuondoe hii sasa. Munakaa pale munaangaliana. Get out of your chairs, get your wife, get your husband, mukae pale, mwingine hapo, munaangaliane. Mansoro weka hapo. Nitakusaidia. Just sit down. Sit down, look at one another. Munachukua viti munakaa tu. We Mansoro kaa. I'm helping the Mansoros waache kuja peke yao. We got to be very practical in this. Very, very practical. Hapa mmekaribiana sana. We songa hapa. Pana karibiana namna hiyo. Sitaki usikie siri ya mtu. Wewe umekuja Mansoro. Na hata huyu. Pastor Mchiri, can you go there please before anything else and come with a lot of paper? Lot of paper. Niletee makaratasi. Maybe Jane can help you there. Or Jane, una makaratasi mingi? Lete. Na huyu Mansoro anakufuata, fukuza yeye. I want you to see something that is extremely practical. Very, very simple, down to earth, very, very practical. Very, very practical. And this will help you, please listen, this will help you to understand why you need to think more about covering one another than exposing one another. Is anybody hearing me? Is anybody hearing me? Because the devil is magnifying the small mistakes, the small weaknesses that we have, instead of showing us how we can measure on the good things that each one of us has. Are we together? That's why I know even the Mansoros, you will get a piece of paper, no problem. We will help you. But I want you to look at one another, and once we get these pieces of paper, I want you to write, first of all, I want the man to look at the wife and say, these are the things I like about you. I love this. This is what I like about you. And then you write at the end of it, this is the kind of place I would love us to improve. You improve. I help you improve. And then our marriage will be another one. Patia kila couple, hata Mansoro hapo wasaidie tu. Moja. Are we ready? Get a pen. Get a pen. Get a pen. We want to do a clinic here. We want to do a marriage clinic in a few minutes. Ngoja tufanye ka clinic kidogo. Sasa mwambie ile huja mwambia, you are beautiful. You are very kind. You are the mother of my children. You are the father of my children. Najua humwambii sasa, nataka umwambie leo. Yeah. If she is not here, or if he is not here, haya, andika. Now, look, please listen. I want you to look at one another and start writing. Please listen. Husband on one page, the wife on the other page. Are we together? Sasa, the husband, mama anamwambia all the good things anajua, in his life. Alafu anasema na ukimprove hapa na hapa, marriage yetu iko sawa. Tafuta hiyo ndio kitu kwa marriage. And don't exaggerate and don't lie. Mwambie ile ya kweli. Kama unajua hatengenezi meno, hiyo ndio utaongeza pale mwisho. Hello? Kama nywele yake si nzuri, hiyo uongeze pale mwisho. But I want you to write all the good things you know about your husband, no kimwambia. And all the good things you know about your wife. Na yeye mnaandika one page, ya mama one page. And then from there, unamwambia na ukiimprove hapa. This is very good because here you cannot quarrel him. I said ukiimprove hapa. Did you hear what I'm saying? Ukiimprove hapa. Can you go ahead? You can talk more on the positive than the negative. And when you talk about the negative, what happens is that you are not criticizing one another, you are looking for improvement. And there's a very big difference. Many families are breaking because when the negative comes, it's an issue of exposure and it's an issue of criticism instead of an issue for improvement. Get that? And what I would, I would request, after this is that let what you have started doing here not end here. Mukienda nyumbani muende muongeze hiyo karatasi. Na Mansoro uende leo tu. Uchukue bibi yako mwambie kuna kitu tulikuwa tunafanya kule. Ngoja tufa. We were told, I look at you in the eye and I tell you this is what I like about you. And if you can improve on here and here and here, marriage yetu ni sawa. Are we together? Are we together? I want you to see in an atmosphere whereby you are ready to cover for one another, miracles are about to happen in that family. Are we together? And your marriage will continue improving day by day. Improving day by day. The big problem is that some marriages, they are deteriorating as people age. And that's not the way it ought to be. It ought to be this way, that as you age together, the marriage becomes much better. It becomes sweeter. That's the plan of God. It's not your tradition, the traditional one, whereby as you grow older, it's like you become two brothers or two sisters in the house. That's not the way it ought to be. No. And what helps us is just what I told you. You got to be ready to cover for one another. Tafadha. Whereby the issue of criticism, fault finding is not there. What there is can we sit down and look for a way whereby this and this can improve? And then we go on. We go on. Now, some of these girls in this house are smiling. The last time they smiled like that was when the proposal came. How many believe that what I'm saying is true? Some of these girls, the kind of smiles I'm seeing here, that smile, the last time it was there was when the proposal came. And she was, hey, that's the last time. Brother Monique, please. God bless you.